Welcome to the Toffee Blues, where Mike, Thomas, Terry and I are going to briefly discuss the news that broke today that Everton have announced a new sponsorship deal with Cazoo. Cazoo is an online used car dealership and is a relatively new yet successful business venture. Started up in 2018 by the founder of online estate agent Zoopla, among other things. The deal is reportedly 10 million a year, which is only a slight improvement on the 9.2 million a year deal we were getting off Sport Pesa. And this deal that we've signed with Cazoo runs for 3 years, which will take us up to what is expected to be the final season that we play at Goodison. So, lads, what do you think of the new deal? Mike, what about you first?
The first I heard of them was the S put something out, didn't he, a few weeks ago, mentioned Cazoo, and got laughed at a little bit, to be honest with you, because there's all this talk over Usmanov and USM and Megaphone and etc. And, people have got to realise, I think, in the current financial climate, it's very, very difficult. A lot of companies are taking massive hits in terms of revenue and income, etc. But this has been going on for obviously a little while as well, because Hummel is saying that the shares are going to be getting released in the next couple of weeks. So this sponsor's not just come out of anywhere, just out of the blue. But looking at one thing that I to look at, obviously from a club point of view, it's finances. Okay, so that's Everton's side. As a fan, I like to look at, okay, how does it look on a kit? So I threw a kit out earlier, and I always like to just mess around with designs, etc. Dead basic, with their logo on. Hummel with the chevrons, an old Everton badge, and it looks, V-neck shirt, and it looks clean, it looks smart. More importantly, kids can get a shirt with a sponsor on, and that's the first time since 2000, since we had Chiang, wasn't it? Since Chiang came on board, which is a massive thing, I think, for the commercial aspect, or in terms of shirt sales, etc. Because kids like to obviously feel a big part of it. I know when I used to buy shirts for my daughter, she gets ladies shirts now, but even then you'd think they look so much better with that sponsor on, and I'm sure it puts certain people off. So for me, I'm quite happy with it. Listen, let the club sort of finances and what have you. I look at how does it look on the shirt. Can the kids get it? Yeah, that's great. That'll do for me.
Really well put, to be honest, mate. And Thomas, what about you? What do you think of the Cazoo deal? Do you think it's a good move by the club?
Yeah, to be fair, obviously, what Mike said there about finances, that's all the club's business. We can never really, talk too much about that. I think, just to try to say something different there, because Mike pretty much covered it all, but just to say, it seems like definitely a company that's kind of going to grow, and obviously the board are constantly looking for, expansion, growth, going to Bramley Moore. Because obviously people were talking about the owner of the company did Zoopla, didn't he, and Love Film and stuff like that. So they clearly believe in the company, because everyone was laughing this morning, because obviously everyone's got more followers than them on Twitter, so everyone was having a good laugh about that. But it seems like they've got potential to, kind of grow as a company, and clearly that's what the board are after, someone who can grow with the club, and obviously kind of make the transition into Bramley Moore whenever we end up there now. Obviously about the kids' shirts, it hits close to home for me. I don't think I've only had a couple of shirts now with the actual sponsors on, obviously, but it's good to have it. Yeah, in terms of the finances, I was a bit disappointed that it's similar to Sport Pesa, and I get the club are kind of trying to take this moral high ground about betting sponsors and not having them, even though there's no official ruling on it yet. But it is what it is. We can't change it now. It looks all right. Obviously, it's not going to be red. It's not going to be hideous. I don't really mind. It seems like a good deal overall.
I think the most important thing I think you just touched on is that it's an improvement on Sport Pesa. I think the look on the shirt. I think the whole model side of it. I think obviously you said it's not been banned or anything just yet, but it's certainly a standpoint that Denise Barrett Baxendale was very outspoken about this, wasn't she? She said that they want to move to they didn't like the contradiction between the fact that Everton in the community were doing a lot to help gambling issues and having a gambling sponsor, which was obviously undermining what they were doing, they thought. And I think it's a good move in that respect, certainly from the club's publicity standpoint. What about you, Terry? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, both lads touched on it. The main thing for me, as a supporter, is what it looks like. Does the sponsor ruin the kit? And no, it's a nice, simple, clean logo. It's hard to really get that wrong. Like, let's be honest. And it's not quite as, plain as Sport Pezza. Sport Pezza's font was like, didn't even look like a real company, did it? At least because it's got
it was generic, like Arial black text, I think it was.
Yeah. At least Cazoo, varies slightly from that, so it looks like it's an actual company. So yeah, it's how it looks is a big thing, and as long as it's not something like ridiculous, like Poundland or something like that, because then you're going to end up with all the footy banter accounts crucifying you. So yeah, so from a design aspect, fine with it. I prefer that to Sport Pezza. I am glad that the club have gone away from the gambling sponsor for two reasons. One, I think it's just good for the club to get ahead of that anyway, because I think down the line we're going to end up having that enforced on top flight football in the country. It won't be coming in the next few months, obviously, but I think sooner or later that'll be a rule that the government will bring in, going, oh, front of shirt sponsors can't be gambling companies. Starting from this year, you can't renew with a gambling company, so you've got to let your contracts run out. So even if that doesn't happen, it's still the right thing to do. The club have made the point that with Everton in the community, the work they do with helping people through addiction, gambling, part of that, they didn't want a gambling sponsor. It's the right thing to do. But it also made it quite difficult when you drop your sponsor right as a global pandemic hits, and the massive business recession hits everywhere, the whole world, and you've also boxed yourself in a little bit by saying publicly that you don't want a gambling sponsor. So for us to come out with a comparable deal, given all those outside influences basically tying our hands a little bit, I think it's a good thing. Like, I know everyone was like, "I'll put Megaphone on it for 500 million." It's like, yeah, other clubs in the Premier League aren't going to let us do that. Let's be real.
They're going to see through that.
You're going to have, you need to advertise, money wise. I'm not an expert on, finances, but, I can't see it being a bad thing to diversify your income. Like, I know we get a lot of money from the same, source, Mr. Usmanov, or is many Mr. Usmanov in disguise. But, yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm happy with it. I think it's a good choice on behalf of the club, and you touched on it before as well. Very shrewd that we've, much like with Hummel, only signed it for 3 years. So we're lining up commercial deals and branding deals, which take us to the end of an era at Everton, which is when we leave Goodison Park. And it could be we go for a full commercial reboot again in 3 years' time. For ideally
with a bigger stadium and a bigger pulling power, maybe. But that's what the aim is, no doubt.
Yeah, we could go for a reboot it with more pull, more leverage. We could, we're resetting now this summer for the final stretch of Goodison Park. I know that's horrible to contemplate, but we'll do it all again when it's time to move into the next chapter of the club's history. And I think it's very, very clever. It feels very far removed from the days of Robert Elstone, where these deals might have been 6 years and for half the money and so on and so forth. And yeah, I can't find any issues with this deal. I'm pretty pleased with it for what it is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's a really good point to finish on there as well. I think how far we've come since Elstone was the chief exec, and these sort of deals seem to be being done a lot more professionally and a lot more, like you say, a lot more measured, a lot more calculated. I don't think we seem to ever have a clue what we're doing, and if anything, that's a really good indicator that we're moving in the right direction, is that the people in charge of the financial side of things seem to be in control of what they're doing, and that can only help us, particularly as we head into this sort of period of uncertainty as well.
Yeah, it just shows joins up thinking that these deals are structured in a way that, when the new stadium opens, we've got an opportunity to go with different brands for everything and sell them something a little bit more, high quality. New stadium, hopefully a better team, everything. But I think considering all the outside influences, the depressed, financial market, the fact that we've ruled out a massive part of the advertising sector in football, from our own comments, I think we've done really well to get a deal as good as that. I know people want them to be a much bigger deal, but I think if we could have had a deal worth twice this lines up, it probably would have disappeared with the outbreak of the virus. What can you do? Like, if the real world happens, like, well, it's not unique to football, but yeah, I think we could have it a lot worse. I think this is a good move by the club.
Yeah, and obviously, I think, like you say, Cazoo is quite a new company. It's going to grow, and it wants to grow mutually, I think, with the club, which is going to be a really good thing. And just a final little comment here. Alex Chesterman, the guy who founded Cazoo, he lobbied to try and stop Brexit as well. So I'm sure that'll go down well with your typical Scouser as well. So
he wanted the deal reviewed by Parliament, didn't he? I remember hearing about that. So yeah, he's the right kind of guy.
Clearly they're going down the moral route. Certainly they've got the club's showing off its. I mean, that's always been the way. Everton's always been a club that tries to do the right thing, and it seems that we've finally found a sponsor in that respect. That's a much better match for us than the previous one, which is another step in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's an indicator that the club listen to the supporters. Another one. I mean,
definitely.
Whether you agree or not, a very large, large amounts of supporters have voiced concern about a gambling sponsor. Some people didn't care. Some people thought,
especially a gambling sponsor that's repeatedly took the mickey out of Everton as well. Let's not forget that.
Well, yeah, but some clubs just turn around and go, listen, money talks. Whoever pays the most money is getting it. We've turned around and said, no, we're a club with a very clear identity of who we are and what our supporters want, and we're taking gambling off the shirt. And I, for one, am happy with that. I like the club that they've done that. Wasn't particularly a big problem for me to have a gambling sponsor, but it shows that they've listened to the supporters, and you can't fault them for that.
Yeah, so I think the club's definitely, in terms of the PR side of things, definitely made a very good move there as well. So we'll leave it at that anyway. That's the end of the sort of kit sponsorship deal discussion. Let us know what you think about the new kit sponsorship deal. Just drop us a comment and give us a like and a subscribe. And thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.